Hi everyone, thanks for joining the Atman show, and I'm very lucky to have Girish Kulkarni again on my show. So, Girish, go ahead and introduce yourself, a brief introduction, and also about the topic as well.
Kulkarni. And Anamika asked me to talk about some characters and personalities in Mahabharata today. And that is what we will be doing today. And to talk about myself, I was an IT professional. I have worked in different companies, Wipro, TCS, and I was in the USA for about 14 years. And then in 2018, we moved back, and we'll continue with the topic of today. Topic we have chosen is to talk about the characters from Mahabharata. And I had made a list of characters about whom we will be talking. And it turns out it will be a lot of stories of Mahabharata itself. And in brief, we will be covering the Mahabharata story itself when we do this. So that will be, I think, interesting for a lot of us. So we will start with some characters which I've chosen. Today we'll be talking about Maharshi Vedavyas and Bhishmacharya. Okay, before we start, let me say shloka on Shri Vedavyasa. The shloka goes on like this: Namostute Vyasa Vishal Buddhe Pullar Vindaya Tapatra Netra Enadvaya Bharata Taila Purna Jnana Maya Pradipaha Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanideye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha. So Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave. In the sloka itself, it says that Sri Vyasa, Sri Vedavyasa, is a incarnation of Vishnu himself. So among the various avatars of Vishnu, and I'm not talking about the Dashawataras. Dashawataras are the documented 10 avatars which appear in Bhagavata Purana. So apart from that, Lord Vishnu has got innumerable avatars, and many of them have not even been documented, in my opinion. And one of the most significantly documented avatars is Vedavyasa's avatar of Vishnu. So in Dwapara Yuga, the one we are in Kali Yuga now, and the one preceding this, the Dwapara Yuga in which Krishna avatar took place. There was a time when there was a lot of chaos in the world of knowledge. In the sense that they say that all the knowledge was all misplaced and there was no proper organization to it. Which is when all the devatas went ahead and approached Lord Vishnu and asked him to come help them to organize and deliver rescue the world of knowledge. So, which is when Lord Vishnu said, okay, I will take an avatar as Vedavyasa. So that is the initiation, or that is the starting point of Mahabharata, the story of Mahabharata itself. So there will be this sage called Parashara. Parashara is a Rishi. He will be traveling and he will be trying to cross the river Yamuna, which is when he meets this woman, the fisherwoman. Her name is Satyavati. Satyavati, her name originally was Matsyagandhi or Meenagandhi. Apparently, she's the daughter of the fisherman, king of fishermen, and she will be taking him across the river Yamuna, which is when Lord Parashara and herself fall in love with each other, and they conceive a son on the island of the Yamuna River. So it all happens in one afternoon or something like that. The story goes that as soon as the union of these two people take place, uh, Maharshi Vedavyasa is born, and his birth is a miraculous event in the sense that when he's born, he's already a man with in his full adulthood, and it's like a old man growing. I mean, it's an old man taking birth. He has no childhood. He is already born in the form of a sage, and he's already having a beard and a mustache, and he seems already educated. So that is the story of Vedavyasa Devaru, Vedavyasa, Lord Vedavyasa. And all Hinduism, all the holy texts of Hinduism, all the 108 Puranas are written by Vedavyasa Devaru. And even Mahabharata was later composed. And the beginning of this Kali Yuga, after Krishna Avatar ends, he composes Mahabharata. Mahabharata is an epic Purana, and it has got some more than 1 lakh stanzas. So typically one stanza is about 18 characters long. 18 characters is one character is a small letter of Hrusaswara, which we call it in Hindi or Sanskrit or all the Indic languages, which takes one matra, like a, e, u, o. These all these take one matra, and these typical poems about they run into about 18 to 21, sometimes 21 matras. So the sloka which I just said, Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasarupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanide Vasishtaya Namo Namah. It is about 16 characters. So likewise, there are about 1 lakh stanzas of Mahabharata, and lot of other interesting things are there in Mahabharata. One of them is the Bhagavad Gita. At the beginning of the Mahabharata war, Krishna advises Arjuna as to why he should conduct the battle and why he should not shy away from taking on the role of initiating the war. And that is also a part of Mahabharata.
Yeah, I think it is because he asked him to fight the war to establish the dharma. So that is.
Yes, correct. He basically tells him, now that you are in the role of doing the Rajadharma, which is the kingly duty or the responsibility of the kings or the Kshatriyas. Now that you have taken this responsibility up, you have to make sure that none of these people will survive, because they are all on the wrong side. They're all on the wrong side of the dharma. They have all been doing adharma. It's not just that they have been you have been cheated away from your share of the kingdom. That's a part of it. The greater than that is the adharma which they have been conducting in the name of ruling the kingdom. They have been doing things and set the things right. So that is the reason you have to win this war, or you have to take on the role of trying to defeat these evil people. That is what is the gist of. There are so many other things which he advises us to.
Yeah.
In the Bhagavad Gita, but that is the main role he says you have to take up while you are doing as to why you need to do this war. So subsequently to the Bhagavad Gita, he also advised. He Bhishmacharya composes Vishnu Sahasranama. Vishnu Sahasranama actually was composed by Bhishmacharya when he was advising Dharmaraja on his kingly duties, and he was trying to impress upon him the importance of Krishna being along with him. And then in praise of Krishna, he composes the Vishnu Sahasranama. So even that is a part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata is very long. there are a lot of stories, a lot of such small compositions like Bhagavad Gita and Vishnu Sahasranama. There is something for everyone in it. I will tell you why I said that in later parts. There are good things. There are a lot of other things as well which have been taught or which have been composed in Mahabharata. So this is all a doing of composition of Vedavasa. So just imagine one person being able to compose such a huge volume of work. It's just next to impossible. So in other words, it can only be God who will be able to do such a great work of literature. So that is the reason Vedavasa has been recognized to be along with God.
So
It's
basically,
not
he
just writing.
composed in Sanskrit, right? Sanskrit language. So
Yes,
the Sanskrit language is the language of God.
yes, that is correct. Vedas. He composed. He compiled all the Vedas, which are also in Sanskrit, by the way, and it was all strewn around, like it was all in different pieces, and then he compiled it into Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana Veda. And he said he did not compose it; he recompiled it, or rather, he organized it in these 4 volumes, 4 books, and he gave the Brahma Sutra at the end of it, which is an index of how you should read and what should be your takeaway when you read these Vedas and Puranas. So entire Hinduism stands on the work of Sri Vedavasa. As we know today, all the texts that we Hindus prescribe to are compositions of Vedavasa, compositions or compilations of Vedavasa. So later on, he also has a part in the birth of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura are his sons. When Satyavati invokes him because her son could not bear a child, and her daughter-in-law has to bear a son to be able to continue the kingdom. So that is when Vedavasa comes again upon her request, and he has these 3 children. And later on in the Mahabharata story, he comes at different places. He tries to advise different people at different points in time as to what is the right thing to do. Some people obviously take his way, take his advice and do the right things, and some people don't. So it's a mixed bag of people, of characters in Mahabharata.
So Vedavas
So
is Chiranjeevi, right? He's still alive.
yes, he is still alive, and he is a Chiranjeevi. And both Shankaracharya and Madhvacharya. Shankaracharya was in 9th, 8th century AD, and Madhvacharya was in 13th century. Both say that they have met Vedavasa and they have taken lessons from him on the Vedas, on the interpretation of Vedas and Puranas. So they say that if he finds someone who is worthy enough, he will still give out the knowledge. So he's still there. He's one of the 7 Chiranjeevis: Vedavasa, Bali, Vyasa, Hanuman, and a few others. So that is in brief about Sri Vedavasa.
Mhm.
Now we will switch gears and talk about Bhishmacharya. Okay, so
Vedavyasa was born from Parashar and Satyavati.
yes, she will be called as Matsagandhi at that point in time.
Okay, okay.
And then later Vedavasa was born to Matsagandhi and Parashara Rishi.
Mhm.
Okay, and after their birth, after his birth, he gives a boon to his mother that she can retain the form of a Kanya again, and she can go on with her life. And she's like she can marry someone else. she can go ahead and marry someone else. And Parashara Rishi also goes away. He also goes to his penance. He will no longer be with Matsyagandhi. And after that event, the Matsyagandhi becomes, she takes on another name. She'll be called as Satyavati.
Okay.
And she will continue her life as in the kingdom of the fishermen. And later on, she meets Shantanu Maharaj. We'll come to that story a little bit later. But we'll talk about birth of Devavrata or Bhishmacharya.
Mhm.
All right. So Shantanu will be the king of Hastinapura. So at some point of time, he will be in a Devaloka and he meets Ganga Devi. Ganga Devi, he meets her and he marries her. So at the time of her marriage, she puts on a condition to him. And she says that you cannot question me on any of my actions. Now, if you question me on anything that I do, that will be the last. That will be the end of our marriage. And I'll be going away from you. And he says he'll be in love with her and he agrees to that. And as a result of their marriage, she will bear him 7 children, all sons. And the strange thing which she will be doing is, as soon as the son is born or as the child is born, she will take the child to River Ganga, and it will seem to Shantanu that she is drowning the baby, and she comes back empty-handed. This happens 7 times, and all the she has 7 of his children, and all of them are in River Ganga now. She has drowned them, in his opinion. So he's frustrated, and on the other hand, he can't even ask why she's doing all these things, because he has signed up the prenup with her, saying that okay, I will not question your actions. So so now it is the time of the 8th child, and really frustrated. And the same thing is going to happen now. She is walking towards Ganga with the 8th child, and this time he asks her, "Why are you doing this? Why are you drowning all my children? I have been quiet, and now I can't bear this anymore. The love of my child is now greater than my love towards you. No, I don't care even if you go. So answer me. Why are you doing this?" That is when she says, "Okay, now that you have asked me, our marriage has ended here, but I owe you an answer, and I'll tell you the story behind why all of this is happening." Which is when she narrates to him the story of the Vasus. Vasus are these souls which are akin to devatas. They are like devatas. They're all liberated. Liberated the souls in the sense, when God has created this universe, He has created with the universe all these entities who are supposed to take care of stuff. Like Brahma is supposed to take care of creation. Uh, Saraswati Devi is there to take care of doling out the education and buddhi. Basically, Shiva is there. Shiva, his role is to, he's a control of our mind. Basically, he is a mano abhimani devata, meaning he controls. He basically enables our mind to exist. Parvati Devi is there. She is the abhimani devata of our smriti. Smriti is the memory power. If somebody is able to remember more stuff, that means that person is having a greater grace of Parvati Devi. Likewise, there are so many Abhimani Devatas in our body also. They have been given out all these roles. And then we have Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Yama is there. He's the decider of one when one dies, or he's the god of death. You can say that. So likewise, there are these Vasus also. They are also liberated souls, and they have also been assigned certain duties. And all these entities, they are lined up for mukti after the end of this creation. They are so liberated that they will be granted mukti. It is known. It is known that they will be granted mukti at the end of this creation. No more tests for them. So at these entities at that level, So they do some kind of infraction at some point in time, or a misdemeanor. They tease a Rishi, Vasishta, and then Vasishta Rishi gives them a shapa. He says that, okay, you go and be in the Bhuloka for a lifetime. That is a shapa for you. You have to serve your shapa in Bhuloka for a lifetime. And now they pray, and they ask for his forgiveness, which is when the Rishi Muni will say that, okay, I cannot take back my shapa, and I will give you some advice. You can do that, and you'll be serving a purpose as well when you do this. Which is when he says, you go to Ganga Devi and ask her to be your mother, and she will take care of you. But one of you has to serve. One of you has to serve. The others can be quickly liberated by Ganga Devi, and you can come back to Devaloka where you belong. And that is what has happened. Ganga Devi says, explains to Shantanu Maharaj that see, all these 7 vasus have been liberated now, and the 8th one, who is supposed to serve, will be there. I will give him the education, and I will give him the education, and I will send him back to you. So the 8th son, or the 8th Vasu, who happens to be Bhishmacharya or Devavruta, now he's destined to be in Bhuloka, and he's supposed to serve the 8 lifetimes of the rest of the 7, including the rest of the 7 Vasus as well. So he's bestowed with that kind of a long lifetime. So by the time his term ends and he gives up his body at the end of the war, he will be 800 years old. So that is for how long he lives. He lives through some 4 generations of Kurus. Kuru Kauravas. The name Kaurava comes out of a ancestor king. His name is Kuru. Kuru Vamsha, they call it. Bhishmacharya Shantanu is also a Kaurava. Bhishmacharya is also a Kaurava. Dhritarashtra and Pandu are also Kauravas, and the Kauravas, basically the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, we know them famously in Mahabharata war, are typically known as Kauravas. Of all these people, the most elderly Kaurava is Bhishmacharya. We have to keep that in mind. He was the original claimant to the throne of Hastinapura.
Mm-hmm.
We'll come to the subsequent story as to how it changed and all that things, and why Bhishmacharya was so prominent and what was his significance. We'll talk about all of that. So then Gangadevi takes him, Bhishmacharya takes him to Devaloka. She trains him in various arts, various vidyas. She trains him in Vedic sciences. She trains him in administration, warfare, and so many other, some 7 or 8 vidyas she teaches him. Typically, the Gurukula school takes about 8 years. And another 8 years, generally, students do it, and by the time they are 24. The education starts at the age 8, and it at the first stage is completed when they are about 16, so 8 years. Another 8 years, generally, the students do until they are 24, and they specialize in certain subjects. So 8 plus 8, 16 years. Bhishmacharya does this for 6 times, about 6 times. 6 8s are 48. For 48 years, he learns stuff. So 6 vidyas he will be an expert in by the end of his education. So when he is 56 years old, he comes back to earth. So that is when Ganga decides, okay, your education is done. You go back to your father. He will be needing your assistance as a prince, and I'll take you back to Bhuloka. And she brings him back to Bhuloka. His education is being given by teachers in Devaloka. Parashurama is one of his teachers. Parashurama is the master archer. there is nobody. Parashurama is also, by the way, one of the Chiranjeevis.
Yeah, he's still in
He's
the
still there
Bhuloka,
somewhere.
right? Yeah, he's
Yes,
still with us.
he's still in the Bhuloka, and he has taken up his stated role is he will take care of all the erring Kshatriyas. If there is a Kshatriya who doesn't do his duty, he's supposed to eliminate him and establish a new order. That is the role of Parashurama. That is his stated role. He appears in Ramayana also. When Rama breaks the Dhanusha, Shiva Dhanusha, Parashurama will be enraged. How can someone break it? And then when he meets Rama, he will recognize his worthiness. Actually, Parashurama is also one of Lord Vishnu's avatara. Only. All these events are acting, are Rama meeting Parashurama, and these are all some kind of role playing. They
Uh,
do this role play to make the stories interesting. That's what you can say. So Parashurama has educated Bhishmacharya in the art of archery and warfare. So he's such a great personality that he has had his greatest education, and for 46 years, and 48 years. And when he is 56 years, he comes back and he'll be playfully playing with his mother Ganga. He will be he'll be displaying his skills in archery. He will be putting a dam across her
but
so
Ganga
that the
Devi is
water.
in Devloka, right? She also comes to Bhuloka as well.
Yeah, she's still there in Bhuloka, right? Haridwar, we can go and take a dip in Ganga,
Yeah.
right? In Ganga, and then you can go to Bangladesh also. She is there,
Yeah.
right? So Ganga Devi, the same Ganga Devi only.
Mm-hmm.
Ganga Devi, there is another. Ganga Devi is born out of Vishnu's feet.
Mm-hmm.
Vishnu is called as Ganga Janaka,
Mm-hmm.
right? Ganga Janaka. Vishnu, another name of Vishnu is Ganga Janaka.
Mm.
Shiva is called as Gangadhara.
From the head.
Gangadhara, yes, yes. He's wearing her on his head.
Yeah.
When when people pray that we need some place where we can wash our sins,
Mm.
Vishnu sprouts a spring from his little toe,
Mm.
and then she's born, and then she is born with so much force that it is feared that the earth will get destroyed with the force of Ganga Devi, which is when Brahmadeva first arrests her, and then a little trickle flows on top of Shiva's head, and then Shiva arrests her flow further, and then a small trickle flows down, which we see in the form of Ganga River today.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the story of Ganga Devi, and then that is why Gangadhara Shiva is called as Ganga.
Mm.
So that is the flow of Ganga Devi, and then Mount Kailasa. She takes Ganga even today. Ganga is born at in the foothills of Mount Kailasa.
Mm-hmm.
The trickle from Shiva's head flows down and flows into Uttar Pradesh, Uttaranchal, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, and then into the Bay of Bengal. That is Ganga Devi. And so Devavruta will be playing with his mother, which is when there is a lot of disturbance. Ganga Devi, when the flow of river is stopped, lot of people are disturbed. Now the news reaches the king as well. So he has to come and see what is going on, which is when he sees this guy playing with Ganga. And he asks him, "What are you? What are you doing here? Why are you doing this?" Because he doesn't recognize his son.
Mm-hmm.
Which is when Ganga Devi comes forth, and then she reintroduces to him. See, he is your son from back then, and he's all grown up and educated now. You can crown him the prince, and he can help you in your administration and your kingly duties. And she hands him over to Shantanu Maharaj. So I think he will be helping him out, and things will be fine. Which is when Shantanu Maharaj, king, he's on a hunting expedition, which is when he meets the same girl again, Satyavati. He falls in love with her. So when he falls in love with her, she says, "No, I can't take a decision on this. So you have to meet my father, and he will decide it for me." So he goes and meets him, the the fisherman's king. The king says, Shantanu asks him his daughter's hand in marriage, and the king says, "See, you already have a prince. So what will be the status of my child or my daughter and her children? They can't just be some princess doing some odd jobs in your place. I have higher aspirations for any children born out of her. So unless you can promise me anything better than this, I'm not willing to give my daughter in your hand," is what he says. When Shantanu hears this, he can't do anything about it, right? So he comes back. He never tells Bhishma or Devavruta to about this. He'll just be sad and dejected, and he'll just be with himself. This is recognized by Devavruta, and then he asks him, "What is going on? Why are you so
Devadatta
sad?"
is a Bhishma Pitama, right? Bhishma.
Yeah, he's still called Devavruta. He's still not Bhishma.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, so Ganga's son, Devavruta, he's still called Devavruta, and then he recognizes, he knows, he comes to know, he inquires with his ministers, and they say, "No, no, your dad is in love with this lady, and ever since that has happened, he's not himself, and this is the story behind the this is the story behind his being so sad,
Okay.
depression, basically."
Okay.
So Devavruta goes and talks to the king, the fisherman king.
Mhm.
He says, "See, he's such a great king. What is wrong? I mean, what is missing? What is missing that you cannot wed your daughter to my father?" Which is when the fisher king says the same thing again. He says he talks about his ambitions for his daughter's children,
Mhm.
and he says, unless see, you are already a prince, you are already the next in line for the throne. So how can my ambition for my child's children or my daughter's children be fulfilled? So that is why I refuse to stay. That is when Devavruta takes a vow. He takes a very severe vow to the effect that I will never sire any children. I will never get married. eh, I will never be behind the throne, but I will always protect the throne, he says. I'll always protect the throne. I'll be beside the king. I will educate them. I will take care of all the things that the king will order me to do, and you don't have to worry about it. The children born for Satyavati will be the kings because I have given it up. This is the kind of severe pratijna it takes. That is why it is called Bhishma Pratijna. Bhishma is a synonym for something very severe, and ever since he becomes called as Bhishma, and his Pratijna will be called as a Bhishma Pratijna. Bhishma Pratijna, a severe Pratijna, you can say.
Wow. Bhishma Pratigya. Okay.
That is when he becomes the Bhishma.
Mhm.
Later on, he goes on to educate Satyavati's children. She bears two children, Chitrangada and Chitravirya and Vichitravirya, they are called.
Mhm.
But what happens ultimately is even both of them die without any children.
Okay.
There is another story about how they get married. There will be these three princes uh, for whom there will be a Swayamvara that is arranged by their father. Ambe, Ambike, Ambalike. They are these three princesses. I think it is Kashiraja. Kashiraja, I think. the children of this Kashi Raja are these three princesses. And Bhishma Pitamaha goes there. He goes there and he brings them back. He actually kidnaps them because there is some altercation. There is some story that goes like there is some difference of opinion, and Bhishma is forced to kidnap all the three princesses so that Vichitravirya is married. The first brother is already dead, and the second brother, the second brother or the second child of Satyavati and Shantanu Maharaj is on the throne, and he weds both of the two princesses. The third one, when she is brought in front of Satyavati, she says that no, I am already in love with someone else, and I can't marry you. She names some other king whom she is in love with. And Bhishma says, why didn't you say this before? Why didn't you, when I was about to kidnap you from your father's place, had you told me this, I would not have bothered you. And then she says, I was so afraid of you that I could not express myself. So I just followed my other two sisters. And then Bhishma says, okay, fine, you go back to whomever you are in love with, you go and be happy with him. So he marries the first two sisters to Vichitravirya, and the third one goes back. But again, she goes back, but she is not accepted by her lover. And then she is neither here nor there now, which is when she tries to force Bhishma to marry her. Bhishma says, no, I have already taken this vow. I can't marry you. If I marry you, then there will be a lot of confusion. One thing is I'll be going back on my vow. I can't do that. And then there will be a question on the line of succession. I mean, it just can't happen. That cannot be the case. That's not an option. So you best go back to your whomever you are in love with and convince him to marry you. So that also doesn't happen. So she is left with nowhere, and then she takes a penance. She does tapas with Shiva and asks for a vara so that she can kill Bhishmacharya. So she gets that vara from Shiva. And later she is born as Draupadi's elder brother, Shikhandi.
Shikandi, I know, yeah. And
Yeah.
Shikandi is the cause of, she's neither a man nor a woman, and she's the cause
Yeah.
of death of Bhishma. Yeah.
Yes. There is a story about that also, about that character also, the Shikhandi character.
Yeah. Maybe
She is
later.
actually, we can talk about it later. And then, she becomes instrumental in. Bhishma has taken another vow. He's a man of different vows. He said that he cannot raise an arm. He will never raise his arms on a female. That is his another pratigna.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Krishna says, and Arjuna is in a dilemma. There are 14 days of war has already happened, and Bhishma is still killing all the Pandava Sainyas, and there is no end in sight. Bhishma himself is destroying all the forces of Pandavas. On the 14th day, Krishna says, or 13th day, Krishna says, you can't do like this. You have to go and ask him, Bhishma himself, as to how he can be disabled. So Pandavas go to Bhishmacharya's room, and then they ask him, request him to tell how to win this war. Bhishma says, as long as I am in the war, you can never win the war, he says. And then they say, ultimately we have to establish the rule of dharma. So you have to help us out here. Then he says, if you bring Shikandi in front of me, I will lay down my arms because I can't throw an arrow, or I can't draw my, I can't shoot an arrow in the direction of Shikandi. So, which is when I will be forced to take up some other arms, like a mace, like Gada. So, which is when you will get an opportunity to drown me with your arms. He tells this to Arjuna. That is when he will be able to put him on the Shira Shaya. Shaya is sleeping. Shara Shaya. Shara is arrow. That is when Arjuna will be able to put him on the bed of arrows. So this is the end story of Bhishmacharya. So meanwhile, after Chitrangada, Chitravirya and Vichitravirya, Dhritarashtra and Pandu are born, right? He will educate them also. He will educate the kids in the arts of
How are they
warfare.
born? Like Pandavas and Dhritarashtra, how are they born?
Yeah, Pandavas and Dhritarashtra, actually, Vichitravirya also dies, the second son of Satyavati. For all her insistence on her kids trying to, her father's wish, basically. She ends up being childless at the end of her death. Both her sons are not there anymore. Both the sons born to her from her marriage to Shantanu Maharaj, they are not there anymore. They have died. They have died earlier, premature death, you can say.
Okay.
And she has two widows, daughter-in-laws. She has to ask she has to let the line to continue, Kuru line to continue, right? So she invokes her son, the first son, who is Vedavasa, born to her of Parashara, and she asks him to get children for her daughter-in-laws through his mantra shakti. They used to be able to do that in those earlier days. That through not through physical contact, but through their shakti of the mantras, they will be able to bear the children. So Vedavasa blesses two of her daughter-in-laws with children. Those children are Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Dhritarashtra, when the first daughter-in-law goes to meet Vedavasa Muni, she becomes so afraid of him that she closes her eyes, because Vedavasa is a ascetic. He is in Himalayas. He is living in Himalayas. He's all bearded, long mustache, long beard, matted hair. It's very. One can get afraid when someone sees him. So the same thing happens to her. And then she closes her eyes. She can't withstand the presence of that sage. And then when she closes her eyes, she gets a child, and that child is born blind because she closed her eyes.
Okay.
And the second daughter-in-law, when she goes in, she becomes white with fear. The same thing happens to her also. She gets so afraid that she gets white. She becomes white with fear, they say, pale with fear.
Okay.
And then a son is born to her, and the son is born with a pre-existing condition, as we call it. They call it Panduroga. He had that roga, the whitening of skin, and he had that disorder, or a roga, they call it. After Pandu is born, another Dasi goes in to serve the for doing the service, and then Vidura is born out of that third incident. So the three children, they are called as brothers: Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura. Vidura is called as the Dasi Putra. because she is born to the Dasi. She responds well, and she gets a healthy, normal child. And Vidura, and then he has got a good intellect also. Vidura Niti, we call it, right? Vidura is very good in his Niti Shastra. He's always good with uh, what is to be done, what is not to be done. Niti, basically, the do's and don'ts. He's always in the advisory council for the king. Initially, he'll be helping out Pandu Raja, and Pandu, when he dies, he takes up the similar role with Dhritarashtra. He doesn't participate in the war because he's not bound by any. I will talk about this when we talk about Vidura. So, talking more about Bhishmacharya. Bhishmacharya does all this educating the kids and all that role. And later on, he fights a very fierce battle. He advises, before the battle, he advises Dhritarashtra to not to go to the war. He tells him, as an advisor and as a protector of your role, my role is also to advise you to not to go to this war, because it will end up in the destruction of all your children. Don't do that. He says this to Dhritarashtra. He tells the same thing to Duryodhana also, but none of them will listen. But his role is limited to the protection of the throne, right? He will continue to do that. He will say, as long as you are the king, I am bound by my vow to protect you. So I will also be in the war on the side of Duryodhana, on the side of the throne. He says, not on the side of Duryodhana, but I will be siding the throne if you decide to go to war. But it's on you. It's your decision to go to war. But I will fight the war until my end, he says.
Okay.
And he fights.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Girish. And it was part one of our discussion. And we will meet again on part two with the characters' discussion of Mahabharata. Do you have to say anything to my viewers of The Atman Show?
Yeah, I mean, read about Mahabharata stories. It's very good literature. There are a lot of moral values embedded in the stories. It's an index for how to deal with situations, how to deal with characters, how to deal with personalities. Bhagavad Gita is a very good grantha. So it's part of Mahabharata. So all these things can enrich our lives, is what my message is.
Okay. Bye. Namaste.
Bye. Namaste.